Right, let's get straight into this explainer. Because today, we're looking at something genuinely mind-bending. It's a breathtaking concept called waves of thoughts, originally conceived by Dr. Bahubali S. Ingale. We're going to explore a story that sits right on that razor-thin edge where hard science ends and, well, boundless imagination takes over. We're talking about a brilliant blend of sci-fi, quantum physics, and some seriously deep philosophy. We'll be unpacking heavy hitters like quantum tunneling and wave-particle duality, but we'll be applying them to the very thoughts inside your own head.
So, can a thought exist everywhere at once? Just let that hang in the air for a second. Normally, we think of our consciousness as this thing locked securely inside our skulls, right behind our eyes. It feels completely fixed, localized. But what if the sheer act of thinking isn't a localized event at all? What if, under the absolute perfect conditions, a thought acts less like a physical thing and more like cosmic energy, a probability wave just rippling right across the universe? To even begin to grasp how that could theoretically be possible, we've got to fast forward and look at a world that has pushed science to its absolute breaking point.
Picture this. The year is 2183. Deep beneath the shifting, desolate sands of a place called Newman, there's this hidden, highly classified research facility. This is the home of Project Delta Psi. And the scientists down here in the dark, they aren't just, running standard physics equations. They are operating way, way beyond the boundaries of known physics. They're basically trying to shatter the wall between what we observe and what actually exists. The atmosphere is just incredibly tense, heavy with this impending discovery that could literally rewrite our entire understanding of reality. Right at the heart of this subterranean lab sits the glowing quantum chamber, and inside is an ex-astronaut, Miss Sunix. She's wired directly into something called the Psi-Link. Now, this isn't your everyday medical monitor. The Psi-Link is this unbelievable, futuristic tech built for one highly specific and, frankly, incredibly dangerous purpose: to physically align human consciousness with the completely erratic behavior of subatomic particles. She is literally tethering her mind to the quantum realm, and running this whole unprecedented show is Dr. Beta, a scientist who deeply understands just how bizarre the microscopic world really is.
As he's prepping the machinery, Dr. Beta stares into that glowing chamber and drops this incredibly profound truth. He whispers, "Electrons don't move like we think. They're waves, everywhere at once, until we look." And here, Dr. Beta is pointing to a very real, very strange reality of our actual universe. Down at the subatomic level, things don't just bounce around like billiard balls on a table. It's all about probability.
What he's actually talking about here is an accepted, real-world scientific principle: wave-particle duality and superposition. Basically, it tells us that subatomic particles, like electrons, don't have one single fixed location until they're directly observed or measured. Until you actually look, they exist in a state of superposition. They're just these waves of probability, existing in multiple possible places all at the exact same time. It's only in that moment of observation that the wave collapses and the particle sort of picks a spot. It's completely mind-boggling, but it's how our universe actually works.
So, hearing Dr. Beta describe these electrons as waves that are everywhere until you look, Miss Sunix makes this massive leap. She bridges the gap between microscopic quantum mechanics and macroscopic human consciousness, and she just smiles and replies, "Like thoughts." It's such a simple realization, but it's absolutely earth-shattering. She's essentially suggesting that the very core of human thought mimics the strangest, most bizarre phenomena of the quantum realm.
Which brings us to their radical hypothesis. See, in quantum physics, there's this thing called quantum tunneling, where a particle can just spontaneously pass through a solid barrier that it technically shouldn't have the energy to cross. It's almost like it's teleporting. So Dr. Beta and Miss Sunix think, well, if an electron can tunnel through space via a microscopic quantum wormhole, what if human thought isn't this solid, contained thing? What if consciousness itself is a wave capable of that exact same feat? If that's true, our minds aren't just trapped in our brains. They're fundamentally unbound. Theory set, Dr. Beta hits the switch. Instantly, the quantum light surges. Miss Sunix's brainwaves on the monitors violently stretch, spiking way beyond any known metric, and then they just vanish. Dead silence in the lab. The monitors completely flatline. For exactly 2.3 seconds, Miss Sunix ceases to exist in our physical reality. She is just gone. The suspense of that specific time frame is literally terrifying. I mean, where did she go? Did the experiment fail? Did she actually die?
And then, just as suddenly, she's back. But she's incredibly calm, fundamentally changed by the experience. She looks at Dr. Beta and says, "I didn't travel. I became potential. I was every version of myself, spread across time. Like an electron, I tunneled." She didn't just move from point A to point B, By aligning her consciousness with that quantum wave, she slipped out of physical space entirely. She literally experienced superposition firsthand, teleporting through pure possibility, and experiencing every single potential version of herself simultaneously. Just wow.
Now, to really grasp what makes this so cool, we do need to draw a clear line here. On one hand, we've got accepted quantum physics, the subatomic particles, the probability waves. We know for a fact this is how the microscopic universe behaves. But on the other hand, we have the speculative sci-fi of Dr. Ingardale's concept, this wild idea that human consciousness could mimic that behavior, acting as a wave and tunneling through space and time. Obviously, current science hasn't proven that our minds can teleport through wormholes, but using real physics as the springboard, that is exactly what makes this kind of science fiction so incredibly compelling.
The aftermath of those crazy 2.3 seconds brings us to a truly stunning revelation in the story. Dr. Beta is just absolutely floored. They had actually done it. The experiment proved their radical theory. Under the super precise controlled conditions of the Psi-link, thoughts act exactly like unbound particles. They're untraceable, completely uncontainable. They absolutely aren't bound by the physical dimensions of space and time that restrict our physical bodies.
Later that night, trying to process this universe-altering event, Dr. Beta sits down and writes this beautifully poetic entry in his journal. He writes, "Perhaps the universe is not made of matter, but of potential, and our minds are the first true travelers through it." It's just this breathtaking philosophical crescendo. It suggests that, hey, maybe all this solid matter we see around us is just an illusion, a collapsed wave, and the true fabric of the cosmos is pure, limitless potential, meaning our imagination, our curiosity, and our consciousness are the true vehicles capable of navigating it.
Which brings us to this final reality-altering question posed by Miss Sunix herself. What if reality is simply one possibility chosen from countless others? Think about it. What if every time you make a choice, every time you even have a thought, you're just collapsing a quantum wave, selecting one single reality from an infinite surreal landscape of possibilities? I really want you to genuinely ponder that and definitely share your theories in the comments. Are we just bound by matter, or are we actually beings of pure potential? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today, and as always, keep questioning everything.